Welcome to Knowledge Cast. This is a look into the world of knowledge management, information management, data management, AI, and everything in between. This is brought to you by Enterprise Knowledge. I'm Zach Wahl, founder and CEO of EK. And today we're speaking with Aman Bhatnagar, who's Director of Global Knowledge Management at JLL. Aman, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you for having me.
So it's always a pleasure to have a new guest. And if you've listened to the show before, you know I always like to lead off with the very loaded question of what is your definition of KM?
Yeah, sure, definitely. For me, I guess I could just give the few pieces, which is like the bookish one, like systematic process of collecting the information, knowledge to improve the performance and drive innovation, which may include the explicit and tact knowledge so that people, the organization can use and leverage it across the enterprise. However, a lot of time this being asked to me when I'm in a lift or in somewhere in the organization, what do you do? So I tell them I do a knowledge management, but that doesn't resonate. So the point is to whom you are telling this story or telling you what you do. So that what probably is more resonate and they can understand what you do. So my simple answer is I help organization in managing their intellectual property.
Yeah.
So even sometimes that also help them, but isn't it to elaborate further, but just tell them going into their space, asking what they do. Because everyone is doing a KM in maybe in structured or unstructured way, knowingly or unknowingly. So I ask them what they do in their professional or in their space. So try to put the thoughts in that way that if they do what they need to do it in your daily routine, if you need to perform a task, what all information or knowledge that you require to do that task. By that way, they understand what's the information comes in and how they, whether they need a guide, they need a playbook, they need a procedures, SOPs to perform certain activity or task in the organization at certain level, and whom should they reach if they don't have that information. So putting this in a bucket for them to understand the knowledge management. It also gives what we ever have I've told, just help them in understanding and collecting the knowledge and information, organizational information, so they can help leverage and even help them for driving the innovation at the business.
Yeah. So there's a lot there. Let's pull this apart a little bit. There's a few things that I want to go back to. One is you talk about both information and knowledge, and this is a long running, I almost want to call it a debate within the KM community. I personally have very little patience for it, but it's been a while since we've revisited this topic. So do you at JLL differentiate between information and knowledge, or for your purposes, are they the same thing?
Again, depending the whom we are talking, whom we are providing. For some business, it's a knowledge, but it's an overall, it's an information. But what you pick for that certain audiences is that's what becomes the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, in a random example, you have hundreds of thousands of documents somewhere there, but that's not everything is being used or being helpful or relevant for their information. What extracting the content or information or knowledge from that, that's what's being required for them. So again, it's audience dependence for everything. For a broader one, I would say I have millions of documents in my repository, so that's information. But what's the crux of it comes out of it, that's what is required. Or someone is carrying a knowledge, how that we can be transformed or would make it useful to the business.
Yeah, I don't think you get to have director in your title at a company like JLL if you can't A, distinguish between the audiences that you're talking to, and B, not try to win that argument of what's knowledge and what's information. So you talked about the audiences, you talked about delivering different versions of what you do and what KM is to different types of audiences. And I'd love for you to expand on that a little bit, because I think a lot of times the KM community gets a little stuck in itself and it likes to talk KM to KMers, but almost fails to talk KM to business. How do you translate the business value of knowledge management to a decision maker, to somebody with a budget that doesn't have KM in their title?
Yes, and that happens very often with the transformation. Every time the leaders changes, then you need to put a value to it, what you do,
Mm-hmm.
how this will be help, because for them the revenue, the figures, and the budget, the cost, that's all it is. But they
Bottom line. Yeah.
understand not what you do in actual helping them bringing it. So yes, so that happens a lot. But again, it's dependent whether you are talking to a salesperson, you are talking to the operational person, or you are talking to a product organization. We do connect with all of these, even the account organization in our organization. We are sitting at a central place where we connect and collaborate with all these organizations within our firm, and gather information, collect them, and tell them what they require. So for a salesman, so they just need to see certain kind of content or certain kind of information. Not everything is there of there. For operation, it would more like not a sales content. But account organization who are at a client facing, they require maybe certainly both kind of information. So telling them, helping them, providing what you require to do the things. What we do in terms of the revenue, I guess leadership behind that, absolutely, that's one place in putting the value. But in these terms, if you know the audience who you're telling, and that brings the value what the KM can put in front of the table for them, that's basically help them in understanding the scope and the work that we do. So that's
Yeah.
the way. Again, not everything goes to the leadership, but again, the people, the life of the
Yeah.
people that you are touching within that, that's dependent on bringing the value to those people, is the way that you can do it.
No, that's great. And I love the sales example. What is that driving force at JLL for KM? Is it closing deals faster? Is it being more consistent with how you do it? Is it removing risk from the organization? All of the above. Like, what is that business outcome that KM can get to?
And it's all of the above.
Yeah.
So yes, so they understand the salesman. They understand about what is required for them to daily perform a job. How the information and the things are collected at there. Certain pieces of information, not everything is required. Like proposals, bids, presentation, brochures, those kind of content, and so which will help them in doing their job. Is for the operationals ones, we as we connect it to them, SOPs, playbooks, how again, same story. When we define the persona, we try to understand what's their day look like in an office, what they require to do, and what all information, the knowledge that they require for doing those pieces, how we can best capture and gather that information from them, and how we can make it those available readily. So with that, we connect with all those who are producing the information, be it from the product organization, be it from the sales, or from the subject matter experts in the operational organization. So so we do touch everyone's life in this, in JLL. So that's all. Departments, certain pieces department does have their own KM folks. For them, we do provide a global guideline, how this is a standard process and procedure that we define, but that's not limit to it. They can definitely do it, but just giving them a guidelines how to do the things, how to keep things consistent across the organization, not to have paint everything in red and yellow and
Right.
purple, just to be mindful on doing it, keeping it things consistent. So that will be helpful for end user in terms of the user experience, so they can find things easily and they know where and how they can how they can surface the content.
That's helpful to know. So you basically run the centralized KM operation, but then There's individual KM professionals spread throughout the geos and departments. This is, I think our listeners are always curious about this, and frankly, I am too. Where do you draw the line of authorities? So you mentioned that you set the standards. Do you also control, is there like an enterprise set of technologies that you manage, or is that something that's done by the individual offices?
Again, technology organization is strong here in JLL, so that's a separate division in it.
Yeah.
So we don't have full explicit control. We don't have that thing, but we do have say on that how things will be framed in the organization, how the taxonomy look like. We can definitely change, but pillar like organizations have different pillars. So we are for helping them, guiding them for one pillar, but other pillar can take things at their end and they can drive accordingly. For our pillar, what we do it, we just give them the standard guidelines. This is the way, this is the pieces, and this is the way it should be presented and managed. A lot of things that we and align to the business, but some business are too uh, out of our scope. For them, we provide a consulting. We provide them advisory on that, not doing the things by ourselves. We just provide them the guidelines, KM guidelines, but they do have a lot of say on that, since they are the one who are doing the things at their department level. But we just make a one piece of sense that to be consistent, so that this is the way that we do it. There's nothing right and wrong, but standard pieces keeping the consistency in user experience. That's what we just bring kind of buzzwords to them, so that they can understand the whole picture of behind this, why we are doing this. But
Got
we
it.
do give just they have the authority over it.
Okay, makes sense. So you mentioned the two sides of the coin, like capturing knowledge and then making it available. So could I infer, Aman, that when you talk about standard guidelines kind of being syndicated to the organization, it's around those things? It's this is the right process, or this is the right way to capture knowledge, this is the right way to deliver that knowledge?
Yes, a lot. Absolutely, absolutely. But we don't, like the KM, we don't produce the content. We are not the subject matter experts in all the areas. So we generally refer the content to the subject matter experts. This is the content that is we are missing or obsolete. We need to refresh. So we reach out to the business for those kind of content, and the subject matter experts that there your name is there on this content. You are the content owner listed as this. Is there an update? This is being an year or 2 year old. How do we have an updated version of it? I have defined the retention policies based on the content tab and metadata. So that way it helps us in auditing or refreshing the content, so that we know we are up to date. And same way is being told the subject matter experts that this is the uh, retention policy and it is about to expire. You get the notifications and bunch of things. So, and then we engage with the subject matter experts in the business to look into it. Not necessarily that every time the content will get refreshed, that hold the value and would hold the relevance. Even it get changed, it has surpassed the retention policy. That happens a lot of time because nothing has changed. We are still serving the providing the same services, or the case studies or the lesson learned. They have not changed. They're going to remain same as is. So, but again, even in that case also, we asked to just take a glimpse of it, to just to say it, just to keep it, delete it, archive it, or you have an updated version to refresh.
Okay. So a lot of organizations struggle with this. I want to dive in a little bit. You mentioned retention policies and you mentioned leveraging metadata. How are you determining, or how are you watching to see what needs to be either refreshed or validated? Are you actually going in on a document by document basis and saying this document says it's about to expire? Or is it based on document type, as in like, well, if it's a case study, we check every 2 years? Can you explain a little?
That's the way. That's the way. The piece of taxonomy that we use the content
Hmm.
type based on the content type. The policies we define the policy based on the content type. Like it's a case study. It has to be. It holds the value
Yeah,
for certain X years. It's a proposal. It need to be renewed in certain months
sure.
because it changes with the time, evolves with the things. Presentation brochures. Does it hold for an year or not? Again, so that's where we do it, and we do it both ways. We do have the notifications based on these policies or the expiration some holes, and that again with the notification it goes to the owners. We have defined this process and the workflows for them. Also, we do an audit because even the notification goes, not necessary everyone will take it up and do it. That's a human nature. People are always busy their main job and main profile, that it becomes a side job for them not to do with it, and sometimes it get overlooked. So but we do an audit on a 2 yearly basis to just to see what we are holding in our repositories and how who whether we what should do it what should we do with that and refresh those in our system.
So you mentioned taxonomy and you mentioned content type. What else have you done with taxonomy? What other tags or what other taxonomies have you applied in your corpus?
Let's say enterprise information and enterprise wide that we are use again, and also the business wise also, but sales would have a separate taxonomy. Organization, even in the operational organization, engineering would have a separate, the real estate would have a separate taxonomy. So we do give them the flexibility to use and leverage according to their business. The product would have their own, but we have given some kind of standard pieces of information like the collateral types, content types. Apart from that, what the business produces, whether it is to a specific topic or to a specific event or specific area that they are going to cover it, then we customize or give them to for their space.
So you, Aman, have helped JLL contextualize tag content through taxonomy and ensure the quality of the content through this kind of governance and oversight. Those, in my experience, are two of the big success factors for where we are today with generative AI and everything else. Has JLL started creeping into that artificial intelligence world? And if so, how's it going?
It's absolutely great, and I guess you got the point right. The underlying data is the key
Yeah.
piece. Even we have it not. The AI piece, that's what it is required. What you feed, that comes out. So the right information, if you're getting the crawling the right information into this, that's where the relevance, the correct result will come out of it. So same term, garbage in, garbage out. But that's we are keeping quite a check on that. Even we are putting the AIs on our repositories simultaneously. We are keeping a check on the content. What's in there.
This is a big deal. It is, I think, so central to an organization actually realizing business value from AI. Some of this quote unquote boring KM stuff that you've been getting the organization to do for years, that you've been saying, trust me, this is really valuable, is suddenly way more visible and way more impactful than it ever has been. So what is JLL doing on the AI side? What are some of the outcomes? What are some of the use cases, if you can share that?
That we have implemented the AI on a lot of our repositories. Not everything is integrated. Like for it's a again vast organization, different
Oh, yeah.
pillars within the organization, different departments in those pillars as well. Everyone is looking for, like it's a buzzword. Everyone wants to get it done for themselves. So we are just telling the hold your horse. We are giving a one centralized one. Let's first explore and learn from that. It's not that everyone is trained enough to do it, because again, same story. What you give, that will come out. You will how you will be querying or how you are using those AIs in your business. So we do have implemented a lot of agents on our different repositories, crawling different pieces of their repository on a central place, and also has given an open source as well, like open AI, which search the internet, not only the internal information. So different sets, not every information is also open to in the outside. So the internal agent is on the internal information, so they can just crawl the internal. It won't go outside. So like intellectual property of the JLL, not the confidential information, so they can search or to use AI to get those information from our internal portals or sites. So it is getting crawled, but not absolutely everything. Again, we are just keeping a check on this, what to feed. Not all of the repositories to be fed unless they are being cleaned up and checked by the business and given its go, and by the KM with KM also. So that's how we are balancing the AI and with the businesses and the content.
KnowledgeCast is brought to you by Enterprise Knowledge, the world's largest dedicated knowledge management consultancy. From training to benchmarks, strategy, design, prototyping, and all the way to enterprise-level implementations, Enterprise Knowledge wants to be your services partner. Spanning the fields of knowledge management, knowledge graphs, data, learning, advanced content management, and enterprise artificial intelligence, contact us at info@enterprise-knowledge.com to discuss how we can support you.
So that's a pretty critical role for you and for KM within JLL. In some organizations, I think they're trying to figure out who owns AI, and the knowledge management professionals are not necessarily part of that conversation. Was it natural for you to be part of the AI solutioning at JLL, or did you have to kick that door down? Did you have to force yourself into that room?
Not so. JLL is quite an advocate for AI. So they are themselves kicking off on this one.
Yeah.
For some time we were pushing that we need something on that, but again they are very mindful in using it, how to implement that into our system. So it wasn't easy. We just told them that this is what we need, the business is required, and build the business case. They understand, and they know the value of that. Will bring it for the audiences within the organization. So it wasn't that difficult. But again, like I said, that technology organization holds a lot of precedence about we are just like, again, using those. They are the one who is facilitating or integrating those technology.
Yeah. So you were.
So we don't absolutely owning everything. We are just the one. If I say in my terms, I'm with the more like a consumer for them, helping them, facilitating with the consumers and the technology. We are in the kind of middle layer.
You were facilitating a lot of the conversations, but you were also ensuring that the source content, documents, data were ready, AI ready, which is a pretty big deal. And I guess I just want to push on the question: how did you get involved from that perspective? So if somebody else owns the technology, your IT group or whatever, did they come to you and your team and say, hey, help us with this, be our partner to implement this or design it? Or were they just happy to scoop up the content and data and use the good works you had done in the past? How did you get involved in the initiatives?
The other way, we have gone to them that we need, because it's like what they have is LLM or the AI, which is quite an for the open, like it was not crawling our internal information.
All right.
It was just like an open source that you can search it. So instead of going to an open source AI, they have their own build it to use within the organization. But then it was not serving the purpose for all the audiences that we are catering. So we have gone to them saying that we have a lot of internal information which our employees require on day-to-day basis to serve their to serve the process, to serve the task and the roles that they are doing it. So then how the conversation got drive into this and build the case and all those.
That's fantastic. So the other part that we're seeing critical for a KM org to do in the context of AI for an organization is helping to ensure that the results get better and better. So inevitably, even though you've done the semantic work, you've done the content quality work, there's going to be errors, right? The cute term being the hallucinations. So when that hallucination occurs, the most mature organizations are going to act on it. They're going to figure out why it happened and make sure it doesn't happen again. Can you talk to our listeners a little bit about what that process is for you and for JLL?
I can talk from the KM, but what the technology doing at the back end, I may not have the complete insight of that. But we are providing them some insights on that. This is what's happening.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that's why what we have asked them to, and this I'm specifically talking about what we have implemented on our internal repositories. So when they crawl it, what we have asked them to put a reference from where it is being pulling this information. So when you put a prompt something and it scroll from all our internal, it at the bottom it also give a reference to one or two content from where it pulls the information, so you can authenticate. Or by that we also know it, okay, this is not a good, maybe we need to update this content is obsolete. So that way it goes two ways. We also know it whether to authenticate it's giving the right information and what's the source of that information. So that way we are being tackling that hallucination.
Good. That's such a big deal. There's the terms we've been using for this are black box AI versus glass box AI. And so you've designed the glass box, explainable AI. You know what sources it used, potentially what relationships it used, how it effectively, what assumptions it made, and then you can inspect that if it didn't give you what you would have expected or what you can trust. So excellent. That's great. There's a lot of maturity there. So talk to me, Aman, about where your group sits within the entire org of JLL. It seems like you're central to a lot of activities. You're syndicating some guidance to the organization overall. Where is KM within JLL at your level?
If I give you a little idea about the structure of the organization, we have four pillars in JLL, and one of the pillar I'm serving the just one of the pillar. And for that pillar, we are the one who are managing their businesses, their content, their CMS, their portals that we own. We have assigned a dedicated KMs for each business so that we can take care of their information, and we also know it and collaborate together what's happening in that business, what should be the guidelines, and how we help them in managing the business or provide a solution. So that's way one is the central, but given that there are certain departments within the pillar which are gone out of our scope. For them, we are providing consultancy and providing advisory to them how to they can take care of those.
I mean, overall, though, you're talking real staff, investment from the organization. Did you impact that? Did you design that? Or when you came into the organization, was it already a kind of mature leadership invested KM organization? Because what you're describing is better than what many organizations have today.
Not, it's been 10 years and been into the work with the different leaders, and transformations happen every 2 and 3 years. So that happens with we are, initially how we got placed is two per region. We're going to serve the business by region, but not limited to it. We can definitely increase the scope. But again, then the overall, then the transformation businesses, and those are global. One piece is talking to the other, then may happen something different in the other region, so that may not serve it purpose. Retransformed it. That's how it was a decentralization, then centralizing. So a lot of pieces to and fro that happens before we figuring out this is the best one to do it. And I'm a if I just talk about myself, I'm just a tiny piece in the KM. Within that, our leaders within the KM leaders, they build a lot of look into these strategies and help in driving those in transforming. So
Mhm. I mean, it's impressive. You should feel proud, and as should the organization, because it seems like there's been a lot of good investment and willingness to put the time in that has now led you to this moment that you're actually pulling off some business value from AI, which I think you've seen the statistics puts you in the minority of organizations in that department. So, talk to me about your own path. How'd you get into the field of KM?
that's an interesting one.
It typically
I was
is.
so I didn't belong or have not done anything in terms of the knowledge management from the education perspective. I was a software developer.
Oh, cool.
I
Okay.
started my career as a software developer. So I was curious when in the version controls on the documentation of that, how that happens. So that's where I saw all those on the software development. Then I got to the point, my next role was on the release management. So how the releases are done, where the release notes are happening, what challenge, this is the old one, this is not up to the mark. So that's where I got into the CMS and knowledge management, how these are collected, who are the one who are doing, whom to reach out to get this up to date, whether if a release to be done. So that's from where my knowledge management journey started, from that onwards. So from there we completely into the managing the CMS. And then actually it was more like a content management. Then within the JL, that's where the actual knowledge management piece come into the picture. That's where I will say that people that do say content management, knowledge management, that's where I draw the differences, because whatever the information is coming, just managing the repositories and all the taxonomy and all these which are being provided to us. Whereas KM's role is little bigger than that. They look into the information, they look into the content, how best to present, or how best to present on the best place on the system, so that it would be searchable, or it will be accessible to the end audience. What abstract from that information is would be helpful. Not everything need to be there. So that's where you need to have the understanding about the audience, about the content, what they are doing on a day-to-day, are required on day-to-day life, so that the knowledge or information that has been produced, so that can be placed or accessible easily and quickly for them, so they don't need to go multiple layers to find an information. So that's where I piece the KM roles.
Yeah, it's interesting, Aman. You've been doing this a while, as have I, and you're talking in terms of journeys, use cases, business value. It's amazing to me how little has changed, even though the technologies are totally different, right? Content management, enterprise search, you talked about portals, now we're in the age of AI, but you're still using those same core techniques of understanding your users, understanding what they need to do and want to accomplish, and then designing for them in order to do good work, right?
Right. I guess these are the basics one. Even with the AI will come, you will need to think that way, what the end user or the audience will search or use AI. What, again, I think maybe third or fourth time I'm repeating this one. What information they would require, how we can make their life easy in their daily task, what they will do, so that will be helpful for be it our enterprise search, or be it they use it from AI. Ultimately, they would need the same kind of, they will be performing the same job, or they will be requiring the same kind of content. How to make it better? So those are the basics. Even with the next phase of maybe something else coming, first they will need to understand, rather than being just implement anything, but they need to first understand their audiences better before they just jump into anything else.
I totally agree. It's one of my favorite questions to ask is we're beginning to work with a new organization and getting to know folks is simply, what do you wish you could do that you can't do? as part of your job, or what's hard that you wish was easier? And that the root of that question, you never talk about knowledge management, right? You don't have to talk taxonomies or retention schedules or anything else. Just that question of where's the friction? And it just unleashes so many good conversations, and it's encouraging for me to hear you speak in those same terms.
Yeah, and the analytics also comes into the same way into it. You do provide with the KM, you do look provide those like analytics and the information how the content is being used, even the cleanup in that activities also, in the site audit content audit activities also. So analytics also that comes into the picture. I'm also running architect the analytics for the organization, for my pillar, specifically talking about for my pillar, and I've done the architecture for that and being used and further refining it on day-to-day basis, how we can use and present the information to business.
Tell me more about that. So on the analytics front, I'm always curious specifically what you're watching or what you're trying to learn, and then what you're going to do with it. So tell me more about the analytics.
Sure. Again, first piece, the audience and how mature they are to understand that and analytics. So that's how I started the piece. I can capture 150 pieces of analytics, but would that be would that resonate with them? Would that help them in any way? How that will be? So I started slowly in with that, giving them a very basic information so that the maturity will begin. So that how much is used, who is using, how much time is being used during a certain period, who are the audiences that's coming to those content, and what's the change ratio over the period of time. So that's how we are producing the very basic and standard information. Then we started building the insight, why there is such a change, what has happened in the business, so that squeeze the jump, or there's a drop in the usage. So being a KM, you should be on top because you know it, the business, and you are serving that business. So that something event has happened or something, there's a low attendance in the organizations. What is this causing? What's the why there's a momentum up and down? How is that happening? So translating those pieces into it, where they are going and from where they are coming, what we have done that in that certain period of time, which caused all of these traffic to come and go. So that's how I'm being transforming these, producing these analytics and providing.
Excellent. So if we think of your own path, you took sort of the traditional content management, document management, and then started thinking about what needed to be done to make those systems really effective. And that was your path into KM. What would you recommend to somebody who wants to get into the field of knowledge management today? How should they get smart in the field?
Again, then you should, at least person should have some basic understanding what the KM and the content management stands for, like I already explained. That may draw their attention or their interest into the field. Though AI is coming to the picture again, but the underlying data will remain as is. You will require to settle that piece of information, which for that you will require audiences, for you to require the resources, be it you call it content manager or the knowledge manager. So that's how you can explore and see the field, how this field and this knowledge management is working and how they can make use of it. There will be different dimensions to it. They can definitely explore those pieces.
So we've already talked about the importance of business value and putting things in terms of the right audiences and specifically talking to leadership. One thing that always comes up in my conversations is return on investment. How do you prove or demonstrate that you're actually yielding value for the organization?
It's always been a challenging for the KM to show that what's the value ROI that you are producing. KM is always being considered as a back office job. So whatever
Yeah.
the content that you produce being used by the audience, maybe n number of time, but then how the dollar value will put it to that being content being used. So I don't have a right answer to that, saying that it produces a dollar value with ROI. But I can just say it one story to it, that we were doing some kind of producing some content where we have stopped producing it for some time just to gauge whether it brings a value or being used by it and how well they are being used. So
Yeah.
it's good to see that people were coming back to us asking about those content. So that's being useful for them and they require that content. So that's the value that we see, or we can say maybe an ROI for that. So I don't have a right answer to say that I have a dollar with that much of dollar value to in terms of the ROI, but that's the way that we have it to understand what the value the KM is bringing.
No, I mean, I think that's great. And, you already also noted the fact that all the work that you've done has effectively made the organization ready for AI, which is, although, again, not necessarily something you can tie to specific dollars and cents, is pretty significant for any organization seeking a major competitive advantage at this point. So, yeah, some pretty good work there, I would say.
Thank you, Zach.
We'll close with this, Aman. It's a question that I always like to ask. You've been at JLL now, close to a decade, if actually not a little bit more. What's that major success factor? What is the thing you've done to have been successful in your role that you would recommend to our listeners?
I would say I was fortunate enough in with the JLL. Every year I got a new exercise, a new challenge that comes into my picture, be it from migration to the innovation to the analytics to the business to the AI. So I have been driving those over the years. So that's where that keeps me motivated as well, and keeping me showing the success like analytics innovation program I was driving last couple of years, where we have built an internal platform or tool for them so to collect all that innovative solutions and best practices which businesses or account people are using, so that can be leveraged by other audiences. They don't need to invent the wheel for that. So this way, not only the KM, but I do hold some of ownership of some of the platforms or the tools that we are using within the KM, which helps me motivated and up to the things to do the next, what's the next big thing is coming in the KM that we can implement or use and leverage for KM.
Nice. It must be satisfying for you to see all your hard work's paying off in such real ways. So congratulations on that.
Thank you, Zach.
Aman Bhatnagar, Director of Global Knowledge Management at JLL. Thanks for your time. And to our listeners, thanks for joining this episode of KnowledgeCast. To check out more, visit our website at enterprise-knowledge.com.